Hi everyone, John Alexander here to give you some more information on an announcement that you may have heard about already. Beginning Sunday, November 1st, first day of November and moving forward, we are moving back to in-person worship services here at 2424 Studios with two services at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. So to bring you more information on what we're doing, I'm going to divide this up into a few different areas. First, why we're doing this, then how we plan to do this, and then thirdly, when we're doing this. And under when, you know when, it's on Sunday, November 1st, but I'm more going to talk about a timeline for the months ahead, the how long sense of when, because remember, we still do actively plan in 2021 to move into our new home to share space with Urban Worship Center at Cumberland and Coral Streets. So why, how, and how long? And I'll end the video with a few notes on how we're thinking about kids ministry in the midst of all of this. So first, why are we doing this? Well, first of all, as you know, we've been streaming morning services at 10 a.m. since March. But for the last 4 months, since June, we've been meeting in the evenings at 2061 East Dauphin Street for communion services. And as the fall moves along and we get towards late fall and winter, we already knew that we needed a different plan if we wanted to continue doing in-person but distanced communion services. And we do want to keep doing that. So we were thinking about where to do them and where to move indoors. And at the same time that we were planning that, last Tuesday, October 14th, the city revised their guidelines for indoor, in-person gatherings, raising the ceiling on the maximum number of people in spaces like ours at 2424 Studios. This is, by the way, this is the same day that the city announced the plan next month to resume in-person teaching in the Philadelphia School District for some students. So maybe you heard about that, maybe you didn't. But all to say, we have decided, all those things considered, to return here to 2424 Studios, resuming distanced indoor gatherings in line with all these guidelines beginning November 1st. We are aware, by the way, that cases of COVID-19 are rising in Philadelphia, as they were when these new guidelines were released. And we're tracking with all of these things. We're also getting counsel from medical professionals in our church, along with listening to city guidelines as we move forward. But ultimately, the elders of the church have decided to invite people back to in-person gatherings beginning November 1st. So that's why we're doing this. How are we doing this? Okay. First of all, let me speak to some precautions. Just like those in-person outdoor services we were doing, masks will be required at the services. We ask that you stay home if you are sick, that's with any symptoms, and that you quarantine if you have any known exposure to COVID-19. In the description for this video, there is a link for free COVID testing right here in the neighborhood. There's also a link for the kind of symptoms that you're looking for and how to think about them. So feel free to look at those links in the description to this video. So those are the precautions. Secondly, we are asking that you RSVP to these services, at least initially. Again, there are two services at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., and there will be a maximum of 75 people in the main worship space. There will be spacing of 6 feet or more between households. And again, there's a description in the description line for this video. You'll find the link for RSVPing online. We will serve communion at both services in much the same way that we did in those outdoor communion services with individual cups and pre-broken bread and giving some space, and those serving will have gloves and masks, etc. Just so you know, for those of you who do not feel comfortable resuming in-person worship, of course we are going to continue streaming both services online, but those outdoor evening services will not continue after this coming Sunday. Sunday, October 25th at 4 and 5:30. We'll have those outdoor services at 2061 East Dauphin for the last time. And once again, thank you so much for the Schultz family and the Walker family, who are next door to each other, opening up their yards. It's been so fantastic. Paul, I don't know if you can do like a animated confetti flying out of my fingertips, but celebrate them, thank them any way you can if you know them. Thank you so much to those families. So a final word on how we're going to do all of this. We're ultimately going to do this with your help. With your help. Just like our services back in March and before, we're going to need greeters, setup and cleanup volunteers. There are going to be some additional precautionary cleaning measures between services and before and after, and of course, child care support, which we're going to mention in a moment. If you want to help with any of these things, well, chances are somebody's already reached out to you, but if somebody hasn't and you would like, out of the goodness of your heart, to help, please contact swood@liberti.org, Stephen Wood, and he would love to enlist your help. Not necessarily every week, but at least once a month. We're looking for some people in rotations like that, and for some of you, if you wouldn't mind, twice a month or more, that would really help us out, particularly as we get going and we get used to this new rhythm. Okay, so that's why, that's how. Now, how long are we going to be in this situation where we're returning to 2424 studios? When will we move into Urban Worship Center, that is? Okay, so right now, we expect, things could change, of course things could change. We expect to be in 2424 studios at least through February, possibly through April. And this would mean that we would aim to move into Urban Worship Center sometime between early March and late April. Last month, after a good bit of discussion with the owners of 2424 Studios, I signed an amended lease after those congregational meetings we did in July and August. I signed an amended lease with the owners of 2424 Studios, and now both leases, the office and fellowship hall area and the main worship space, those leases will now end on April 30th, 2021. Now, as part of that agreement, if they find a new tenant for either or both suites, we would need to vacate either or both suites within 30 days, and that would mean that we would then just move over to Urban Worship Center earlier. I know this is a lot of information, but there's been a lot happening. So again, the plan is to be here through February, possibly through April, but that's the range, and then somewhere between early March and late April, we would move over to Urban Worship Center. One caveat is if the owners find new tenants for either lease, we would just do that earlier, but we'd have 30 days to make that move. So stay tuned for more information, and of course, feel free to give me a call or an email if you have further questions for me about that. So just on this note about moving back in, but also moving forward to Urban Worship Center, I just want you to know I'm excited about all of this. I think it's going to be a real joy. And I've been talking to many of you about reasons why I'm excited about this move. We've already started partnering with them in a fresh way with the meal deliveries on Friday nights and Saturday mornings. But it's also going to be difficult. And it's good that we remember that. These kinds of changes are difficult. A lot of our work, by our I mean the staff, the elders, the deacons, and some other leaders in our congregation, a lot of our work this fall is meeting with current and past church leaders in East Kensington. It's only 6-7 blocks away. Many of you live there, but for our church, it's a new environment, and we want to make that move as best as we can, as wisely as we can, in a way that honors the current and long-term residents and more recent residents, to honor them as best as we can. So lots of meetings about that move this fall. You're going to hear more about an organization called the Institute for Cross-Cultural Mission, and you can expect to hear more about our preparation for the move and all the details at our next congregational meeting this winter. So with all that, I know that was a lot. I'm going to give you all a break before we get into more details by giving you about 10 seconds of a cat video. Okay? Take a break. Okay, finally, I want to speak about kids ministry and the regathering plan. Okay, so beginning on Sunday, November 1st, we will be having nursery, and that's for newborns through 2 years of age here at 2424 Studios. We will have kids church for the 3 and 4-year-olds. We often refer to that as the preschool group. But initially, we will not have Sunday kids church specifically for the elementary ages. And underline initially. We just don't have the capacity right away. As you can imagine, we're trying to mobilize a lot to regather. We do, remember, have outdoor Liberti Kids Club for elementary ages every Tuesday night, and that has been a blast. If you are a parent of an elementary age student, of course they can be with you in the service in the main worship space. They also can come in with the preschoolers, particularly if they're a kindergartner or a first grader. Just know that the content will be a little bit more focused for the preschool ages. And if you have like an older elementary student, perhaps they would even be willing to come in as a helper, and we would welcome that. But just know, we won't have classes specifically designed for K through 4th right away. Please contact us if you have questions about that, if you're interested in helping us think through that. And I have no doubt we'll be striving to do something for that age group in the near future. But in the meantime, they're welcome to join in the ways that I've mentioned or in the service. And the service, by the way, will be about an hour in length, even with communion served, just so you can plan for what that'll be like for your family. Okay. In terms of capacity, this is important for you parents to know. There's going to be a maximum of 15 3 to 4-year-olds in their group, or if some older elementary want to join them, 15 in that preschool group, and 15 in the newborn group. Now that's for each service. So it's a grand total of 30 kids who can be in the 2 groups for each service. So roughly 60 throughout the total morning, if that makes sense. Just know if you want to sign up for your child for a newborn spot, there won't be more than 15 newborns through 2-year-olds in that class. Finally, on the note of kids ministry and regathering, we are going to follow guidelines in line with other daycare best practices. Again, there's some CHOP guidelines that we're going to be following in the description of this video. For example, we'll be doing temperature checks at check-in with the electronic forehead temperature check, and we'll also ask about symptoms. It'll be fairly simple, but careful. So if you wanted to get there a little bit early, just to know that will be some additional process at check-in for you parents. And folks, that's all I got for this announcement. Thank you for your attention. I do want to ask for your patience. We're going to start, it's going to be a lot of work for us to get started with this resumed gathering process here at 2424 Studios, and we're starting on the simpler side with it. And we also don't know how much of it's going to be subject to change. Any of it could be. So we appreciate your patience. We appreciate your prayers as we continue to gather for worship and continue to be renewed by both word and sacrament in our worship services for the sake of our mission during this very difficult season. So I'm very thankful for each of you. Please reach out if you have any questions, and I look forward to seeing you real soon.